Hey guys, what's going on? It's Roger,
And Cheryl.
and welcome to Bridging the Gap. We've been telling you guys for some time that we are going to test our African ancestry and see exactly what parts of Africa, what tribes we are from. We've had these kits here now for a little bit, and we decided that we're going to let you guys experience this journey with us from beginning to end. So we're going to do our swabs today. Well, I'm going to do my swabs today. My wife has to take off lipstick to do this, and she needs to be cute on camera. So she'll. Anyway, I want to share a story with you guys before we actually.
Help me.
I want to share a story with you guys from our second trip to Ghana, the Jamestown to Jamestown tour. African Ancestry, one of the owners and founders of African Ancestry, traveled with us, and they sent kits to us, to most of us. We didn't.
Those who ordered it, you had to order that
on time.
It was an option. Yes.
Right. So those who ordered it, we ordered ours, but we didn't order on time to get the reveal in Africa, and we didn't get them anyway. We just got them, so that didn't matter. But a bunch of people at this 250 people that went on this trip, a bunch of them got their orders in, got them in on time, and there was about 70, 80 of them that got their African ancestry reveal at Cape Coast Castle in Ghana.
It was nice.
It was powerful. It was extremely powerful.
Except, remember the couple? They found out that they were
they were from the same tribe. Two different tribes.
No, it was
Wasn't
multiple. Because they
like
tell
three.
you all the different ones that the people are in now, like where they are now. But they had multiple links, like 3 or 4
different tribes. It was crazy. And they're looking at each other like, dang, are we like fifth cousins or something like that? It was crazy. So that was kind of interesting, but the rest of it was really pretty cool. People were excited to know what part of Africa their lineage comes from. My cousin, we went on this trip, and I didn't realize until we got to D.C. that I had a cousin who was going on the trip who I'd never met before in life. Right? So that was cool. It was her mom, and her 2 daughters were going on the trip with us, and that was awesome in and of itself. Well, when it came to the African Ancestry reveal, they had Leslie, she was the only one who did it, as the 10th group by herself, nobody else included. So when they did her African Ancestry reveal, she was from the Akan people, and they did it through her mother, did her matriarch line, which is what Cheryl's holding. They tested her mother's bloodline back to Africa, to the Akan people, which is the majority of Ghana's Akan people. A lot of Ghana, or Accra at least, that area is the Akan people. So she was the only one out of 70 or 80 of us who got their African ancestry revealed that was actually from Ghana. It was really emotional. We shared a video of that in a previous video. I mean, her and her girls and her mom were like in tears. It was like, wow, I'm actually home. Mm-hmm. Not just, on the continent, but literally, this is where I'm from. So that was pretty interesting. Looking forward to see where we're from, because I've heard a bunch of y'all tell me that I look just like your aunts. Like your uncles and brothers in Ghana, and you keep saying that I'm Ghanaian. And Mr. Osei said the same thing to me the first time we met. So we about to find out what's really going on.
Yeah. But
on this mother thing, because you can trace, for men, we can trace through our father and our mother, we can track back. But in tracing African ancestry, it is more accurate through the mother's line because
tracing the father's line, because there were so many women, the African women who were raped. If you trace the father's line, there's a high likelihood that you're going to end up
with the patriarch who's white.
Right.
Somewhere
because they're going back hundreds of years.
Right.
Tracing the ancestry,
which is interesting because we always think of the father as the seed, right? But it makes sense. I mean, if you go back just a few decades, or not decades, but a few generations ago here in the States, that stuff was going on. Yeah. We just saw what was going on, back on the other side of the Atlantic 400 years ago. So makes sense if you want to get a true representation, you trace your mother's line because there'll be less interference.
Right.
Crazy.
So,
what are you going to share?
we decided to do, of course, you already know, African Ancestry.com. So this is the Matri clan. Is that what it's called? Matri clan test, and then they have a Petri clan test. And these are the different tests depending on if you're a man or a woman. And if you're tracing your mother's lineage, it's the Matri clan. If you're tracing your father's lineage, it's the Petri clan. And so just a little bit about the company, AfricanAncestry.com. They've been around since 2003, and they're 100% Black owned, including the Black geneticists and staff. So everybody Black. And then what I also like about them is that they say they destroy all your genetic information. They do not keep your genetic information on file. What they do, when you get the kit, it has a barcode on here. And then also inside on the envelopes, that same barcode is there. And so that's what goes to the labs. Your name doesn't go with your DNA to the lab. So there's no way they can connect you and your DNA as far as sharing it that way.
And the reason that's important, because some of these DNA companies out here are sharing that information with police. Mm-hmm. And they're using your DNA, though you've not been in any trouble whatsoever to have your DNA on record somewhere, it's on record.
Right.
So that's not a good thing. Yeah. So that's why that's important.
And the other thing I like about African Ancestry is that they have over 33,000 African lineages across 40 countries in their DNA database, where some of the other companies have about 2,000. So they have the largest database of African ancestry. Also, when you take the test, you can use it for your whole family. So when I take the test, the result is going to be, of course, for my siblings, for my aunts, for my mom. Those results apply to them too. They don't have to take a different test to know our lineage. And what they do is they identify the present day African country of origin. So in other words, the DNA that they have, when they link you to it, it's not it's not where your family was, just say 500 years ago. If they trace it back 500 years, it's where are those people today? And that's where they link you to, and directly to the tribe. So instead of it being like some of the other tests, they'll tell you like you're 70% African and 20% European and 10% something else. This company traces it all the way back to the tribe,
right?
Which is great.
So I've been told that I look Akan, right? And was it Ashanti? Most people say you look Ashanti.
Something with the F, I thought. Is it Falani? I don't remember. Is it Ashanti?
I think it's Ashanti.
And they said something about women from Kumasi area or something. Is that Ashanti?
Ashanti. Okay. That's the Ashanti people of most of that region of Kumasi is Ashanti people.
Yes.
So they say she looks like those folks. I keep getting, from the folks in Accra, I look Akan. So we're about to find out. And it's funny because that's why I told the story about my cousin. She is from the Akan people. Mm-hmm. Now, her mother, we're related through her father and my father are cousins. So it was interesting that her mother has lineage at the Akan people. I'm going to track both my father and my mother as far back as we can and see if me and my cousin was truly standing on our home ground.
So here's what you get inside the envelope. And again, it has the barcode. They give you 3 packs of swabs that you use. I think each one has 2 in it. And then they also give you, these are the envelopes you send your swabs back in. You can see they have the little barcodes on the bottom. So these don't have any place to put your name or anything. It's just the barcodes. And then here is where you fill out your information so they know where to send your information back to. And they give you a self-addressed stamped envelope, so you don't have to worry about that. Just stick it in the mail. So, I don't know. Do we want to read any of this as far as what these tests do?
Why don't you give me my instructions and I'll start doing that, and you can do it. You can share whatever you need to share today.
All right. So, I'll give you your your swab. So, first thing you have to do, it says to make sure that you haven't used mouthwash, toothpaste, had caffeine, alcohol, or smoked for at least 3 hours. You ain't done none of that, have you?
Nah, it's been a good 3.5 hours at least.
Okay. You're going to rinse your mouth out with water twice, which you just did that. Okay. Okay, now is the swabbing part. It says enclosed are 3 packages with a total of 6 swabs. You will use all the swabs. You already did that. Why are you ahead of me? No, just kidding. Roll swab firmly along the inside of each of your cheeks, approximately 20 times per cheek.
So roll this one on each side 20 times.
Yes, that's what it says. And then you're going to put it on the paper towel to let it dry. So while he's swabbing, just a little bit more about tracing your maternal lineage. It says the matriclan test traces maternal ancestry by analyzing mitochondrial DNA, which men and women inherit exclusively from their mothers. You have the same mtDNA as your mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, etc., for many generations. Scientists compare your mtDNA to the African lineage database to determine your ancestry from 500 to 2,000 years ago. If we find African ancestry, we will provide the present-day country in Africa. If your ancestry is not African, we will tell you the continent on which it is found and provide a haplogroup prediction. Then they have a little asterisk note here. It says, we find European or Native American ancestry for 8% of the maternal lineages that we trace, regardless of your ethnicity or skin color. And then it says your personal information will be handled confidentially. Your results will be the same for these members of your family tree. So this is for the maternal line. For your siblings, your sister's children, your mother's siblings, your aunt's children, your maternal grandmother. Okay, and it says for women only, your results will also be the same for your children and your daughter's children. So that's for the women. For the men, only men can take the patriclan test. Women, we can't take that one. It says every male has the same Y chromosome as his father, grandfather, great-grandfather, etc. for many generations. Scientists compare your Y chromosome to the African lineage database to determine your ancestry from 500 to 2,000 years ago. Again, if they don't find the African ancestry, they'll let you know. It says if we do not find your African ancestry, we'll tell you which continent your ancestry is found. We find European ancestry for about 30% of paternal lineages that you trace, regardless of your ethnicity or skin color. So with the mom, it's 8% European or Native American. With the dads, it's 30% European ancestry. Doesn't even say Native, it says European. And so for male results, you will be able to have the same results for these members of your family. Your children, these are for the men. Your children, your son's children, his siblings, his brother's children, his father's siblings, his uncle's children, and his paternal grandfather. So that's a little bit about the different, the tests and what results you get from them. When we were on our trip to Ghana,
I was just going to tell you
about the man who, this man, he was an older gentleman, and he signed up to have his paternal or maternal?
I don't know.
I think it was his paternal.
Makes sense.
Ancestry, because he said he knew that he was Native American or was part Native American from his mom's side. So he already knew that, so he wanted to take it for his father's side. And he didn't get called up during the reveal because they didn't want to, I guess, shock him in front of everybody publicly, because his results came back as Native American. So on his dad's side, which he wasn't aware, traced back to Native American, and he already knew that his mom was Native American, or at least part. So this man, he looks like a
black
man. As a matter of fact, he looks like my family. We had a whole discussion.
Right.
We had a whole discussion about that.
That's what you shared the picture of your uncle with, right?
Yes, because he looks just like my uncles and my granddad. So he looks, you see him walking down the street, you would identify him as a black man, but his ancestry from his father's side traced back to Native American. And he knows that his mom is Native American. So he was stunned. He was taken aback. Because if you think about it, if you your whole life been saying you're a black man, and your paternal ancestry comes back as Native American, and you already know your mom is Native American, it's like that. Your whole identity is a little stunning. He had to be, what was he, 70? Yeah, he's about 70 years old. So
older gentleman. We actually connected with him in Virginia before we left. You were saying that you thought he looked like your uncle. And we got to know him a little bit in Ghana, and when he got his reveal, he was a little stumped. We had dinner. Didn't we have dinner with him?
Yeah.
Afterwards?
Yep, we did.
And he was a little shocked. I can only imagine that. But so, all my swabbing is done.
Yeah. So now we just have to let them dry. You let the swabs dry on the paper towel, and then we'll put them in put them in these envelopes. Then you send them back.
And when we get the results, we'll come right here and reveal them live and see if all y'all brothers out there right. If I'm a Khan and she's a Shanti. Actually, we had somebody just recently, one of the comments said, "You look like you were a Khan and I looked Ashanti."
We from somewhere.
Right. We connected to the people.
Yeah. I was telling Roger, was it last week, how I never noticed how much all Africans do look. Not all Africans, but while we were in Ghana, the people we saw in Ghana look a lot like
family.
People we see here.
They look a lot like family, for real.
Yeah. I don't know. I just always thought we had different features.
Well,
but
this goes back to our education, or should I say lack of education, and actually being indoctrinated. Everything they fed us was that, all African people are like really, really, really dark. And so you have that expectation. I'll be honest, when we went into the gal's house who did your dress, this guy was lighter than Cheryl. And I was like, she's Ghanaian? We have an image stuck in our head because it's been implanted there, right? And maybe before the colonizers came, maybe everybody, but that's not what we look like today on either side of the pond. And so when you see people over there, they look like your family members here and vice versa. So
it's really strange.
It's really odd now because weird. We're looking at people and we're waiting to hear you talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because before we would have made up our mind as to who you were based on this. Now we're recognizing what we thought about this is all a lie. So until you hear somebody talk, we were at a meeting here in Dallas the other day, and there was a brother standing next to us who looked African-ish to us, but Cheryl was like, I had to wait. I had to hear him talk. He was from Nigeria. But it's changed our whole mindset of how we view our own people. It's crazy. You do not have to be super dark skinned to be African, and most of them are not, and most of them look like us. And I can't tell you how many people say, man, he looks just like my uncle, talking about me. I'm like, I believe it now. I would have never believed it until I went, but I believe it now because I'm looking around, and old girl who did your dress looked like she could have been family to you, and she was lighter than you. I'm like, all right, that's news.
The guys at the market,
they look like any brother on the streets anywhere in America. And acted like him. Really, only thing different is the accent.
Yeah,
that's really the only thing different. I mean, it was literally like going home. I should have shared this video. Maybe I will share it at some point in time. When we were in Kumasi, they had at our hotel they had American Night, and they were playing American hip hop music, and they had all of these young, like early 20s to teenagers to young, like 12 or 13-year-old kids in this area dancing. And my little niece, Leslie's daughter, who was on this trip with us, was up there. I mean, it looked like a group of American kids doing what American kids do. and they look like American kids. Listening to American, if it had been placed in Dallas, you would have known. You would not have known that they weren't American kids. So I think some of our,
other than how they respect elders,
but on the dance floor they weren't. They weren't interacting with elders. So just looking at that one scenario, you wouldn't have been able to tell where they were from. They looked like us. They danced like us. They acted like us.
We dance like them, look like
vice
them.
versa, whatever. We all one, right? We're all connected, so we do the same things, and it's universal.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because we all have these preconceived notions about what it should look like or would look like, and it ain't what it looked like. So, yeah, interesting stuff. I'm looking forward to getting the reveal and sharing with y'all that I'm Native American. No, I'm playing. I'm confident I got some links to the continent.
Me too.
I don't know about you.
No, I do.
We'll see.
I do.
At first, she was told she looked Ethiopian.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we heard.
Yeah.
Sam said that.
He did, and I'd heard that years ago. Years ago, a guy stopped me on the street and told me I looked like the women from his country. And he told me Ethiopia, and I'm like, Ethiopia? Because, way back then, especially, Africa was Africa. I'm like, Ethiopia? I look African? Because you have, a preconceived idea based on what you've seen on TV and what they tell you.
That you don't look African, right?
That I don't look African.
Right.
But he was like, you look just like women from my country, but I can tell because of how you talk. That's basically what he said.
So he's basically reversing where we're at right now. You look like my people, but I got to hear you speak to recognize you're not.
Right.
That's what happens when you go to Ghana. It's like looks like family. It looks like home, just everywhere. Yeah. And then you hear him speak. And well, because you're there, you're pretty sure most of them are going to not be English speaking or not speaking. They're not going to have the same accent because they do speak English. Right. They're not going to have the same American accent that we have, which separates us. You can expect that. But when you're here, like we were at this meeting the other day, you look at people and it's like, okay, I need to hear your voice. Because you look like you could be, but I want to hear your voice because we're changing our thought processes on interacting and bridging this gap has really opened our eyes as to, preconceived notions that we have that are not necessarily true. Matter of fact, more often than not, they're inaccurate. They're not
very inaccurate.
Yeah. Scarily inaccurate. So
very. Okay. You gotta cut this video short.
Yeah.
Because I can just go on and on about stuff.
It's interesting. It's eye-opening. I can't wait to get these results back and see what they say.
It takes about, oh man, I wanted to read that. I thought it said 8 weeks or 10
Does
weeks.
it really?
Yeah.
Dang, no wonder we missed out on the first one.
Yeah. And I think they rushed those to get them back.
So 10 weeks.
Yeah, I don't remember where I read it on here. So it's going to be a couple months before we get the results.
It's 10 weeks. We might be just getting back from Ghana.
From Ghana?
So if we mail them tomorrow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At 10 weeks, it'll be New Year's. Okay. One day before New Year's Eve. So we'll be in Ghana. So it's going to be at least 12 weeks because we don't come back to the middle of January. So we'll get you guys some results mid-January, late January sometime.
Right.
That seems like a long ways away, man. I want to know now. I want to know. Anyway. All right, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. I'm anxious. Y'all pray for a brother. I want to know. Maybe they can hurry up and get it back before we leave on the 23rd, 21st?
Somewhere around there.
Maybe they can rush ours. She's special. They do stuff like that for her.
Really?
You are. I'm trying to tell you. You're not special.
I am, but they don't get results back quicker.
Watch what I say. All right. I'm gonna harass her off screen, guys. I'm gonna leave you guys out of this. You guys have a great day.
Leave me out of it too.
Leave you out of it too. How am I gonna harass you and leave you out of it?
Do it independently on your own, in your head. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.